networking and IT.
Oh.
And the original idea was to invite a whole bunch of mycologists to talk with people in the tech side of networking. And that was kind of like the original idea, and now it's just turned into John and Jim holding space.
That's cool. Are there still any mycologists that hang out there?
No.
Oh, okay. I need more of that.
Yeah.
That perspective.
But I know they're working on a fermentation. Chantel, Brian's wife, has a fermentation world.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they're building a community around fermentation, which is always fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lively.
Brewing beer was one of the best hobbies I ever had. Though it did lead to alcoholism, but it was a fun hobby.
Yeah.
Were you always making that very, very strong brew?
No, what happens is to make it reasonable, you have to do it in like a 5-gallon batch, and then you age it and you put it in your fridge, and now you have 5 gallons of spectacular beer in your house. So what are you going to do when you come home every night? You're going to drink a lot of beer.
Yeah.
So.
And then when you run out, you got to make another one.
Yeah.
That's okay. What was your favorite beer to make?
It was actually an English bitter. It was really smooth and very mild. It was fantastic. It was actually the first one I brewed. I used to use Williams Brewing, and they kind of give you this kit, which is, it's not a crappy kit like most places. It's a genuine 5-gallon bucket standard system that people use all over the world. So.
Did you feel like when you were doing that you achieved consistency?
Yeah, it's actually not that hard.
Okay, that's good.
The hardest part about brewing is just the patience required to. You have to boil all 5 gallons of wort. I can't remember which it is. So that takes forever on any reasonable stove. You get like a turkey fryer or something, or a specialized burner. And then there's, of course, you have to cool that, which if you don't use a cooling machine of some sort, it's going to take 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then you got to wait and do nothing. And then you got to bottle it, which means taking your 5 gallons of beer and putting it in tiny little 12-ounce bottles. And that takes a lot of time, and it's very messy because beer gets everywhere.
But then you got lots of beer to drink, and it's yummy.
It's very good beer. Yeah. And I'm not like a good brewmaster. I'm just like using the kit, and it came out fantastic. So.
Are we gonna get to watch Giggle Dragon make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich right now?
I don't know what he's doing, but he's topless.
Always.
That's for the ratings.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
I mean, we got to go get him to stand in a hot tub, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I read an article this morning that Twitch is starting to fight back against that, starting to take ad revenue away from those streamers. And there was one girl in particular, and she was complaining about that, but she has 20,000 subscribers, so she makes $2.50 from 20,000 people a month.
Oh my God, that's awful.
$50,000.
Oh, 50,000?
$50,000 a month, and then she's like complaining that Twitch turned off ad revenue from her channel.
Oh.
At least they didn't kick her off totally.
I do not like the Twitch people.
You don't like the Twitch people?
I don't like their policy on adult content, which is basically just none. So if like the content has, say, breasts, it cannot be shown. But you can show killing. Killing is great.
Yeah.
Well, and breasts are okay too, as long as there's no nipple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
You can't show butts. You can't show butts. That's another one.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably show butts, but no crack.
I don't remember. Every movie I've seen that had that has been blocked out. Obviously, sex is not allowed. There's a whole bunch of things you just can't show. And it's like, we all signed in. You could literally add a age authentication, and could you say everybody in this room is signed into an 18 plus account?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, because that's their big fear, right? Because there's a lot of children there. But even if you drink on stream, or if you curse on stream, or have like adult humor or adult content, you're supposed to put that disclaimer so the kids can't find you.
I used to love watching Twitch streamers get drunk and play video games.
I think if they were smart, what they would do is leave Twitch alone, copy paste the whole fucking service, and then just run an adult one over there, and everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Kills the brand. Kills it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they have all the tech to like Womp OnlyFans.
Yeah. And
Yes.
they've done it before. They've pivoted and gone completely different directions before. Like, that strategy is not new for them, right? Because before Twitch, it was Justin TV, which was a very different nature than what the gaming content on Twitch originally was. So
I'm actually excited about the non-gaming content on Twitch, like your stream, for example,
Yeah.
which I've never watched because I'm on it somehow, and I like Master Pancake and MST3K and Rift Tracks, and Felicia Day does game, but her personality is what sells it. So I mean, the gaming to me is less interesting than the fact that it's interactive content. I can work with the people in chat and we can say whatever we want, and that makes it interesting. So
yeah, that is the interesting part.
I studied history, where Twitch came from. That was fascinating when I found out. It was from Justin TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when they started categorizing things, they realized people are watching games more than they're playing them, and it was like baffling to everybody at the time. Why don't you just play the game? Why are you watching it? Yeah, and then once they figured that out, they're like, "Yep, we're doing this and nothing but this."
Yep. It's more fun and less frustrating.
Yeah,
it is. I'd rather watch somebody who's good at the game play the game than sit there and flail around on the same thing for 4 hours and not get anywhere.
Dude, video games are equalizing. It's unlike sports. Like, none of us in the room can relate to LeBron James in any way physically. And I mean that in terms of like genetic gifts. But like, we can all relate to Tfue playing Fortnite because we start as the same character. We start with the same resources, the same health, etc. It's simply like, it's relatable. Video games will surpass sports within, give it 5 years, 6 years. Already starting to. By like the end of 2021, I'm pretty sure like esports viewership will pass everything besides like the NFL. It's pretty wild.
Kind of already has, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, traditional media is always blindsided by what digital media is doing. So it is probably outnumbering a lot of sports, and they just don't know. So they're not very good at that shit.
I'm surprised chess survived. I remember like when Kasparov got beat. I don't remember, but reading about it, I was like, why would anyone continue to play chess if you have things that are like 3,300 plus and like ELO rating? Like, your best human is like Magnus Carlsen at like 2830 or whatever he is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you still play? The game is over. Like, sure, it's an open game. Checkers is not or whatever. But like, why do you still play chess? You can't actually be the best at chess. It's impossible. Like, what's the point?
Tradition.
I guess. Yeah.
Hi, Mafalda. Mafalda says hello.
Get back to work.
And she wants to know what's in Jeremy's beard. So it's this is the Disco Tea Love. This is it's like you're some type of like EDM TJ or something.
Ooh, I like that.
Jay?
A TJ.
A TJ, yeah.
I'm going to use that at every opportunity, and there will never be an opportunity.
Good evening. I'll be your TJ tonight.
Never come up.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. So those are cake decorations?
Yeah, you like like you have a basic cupcake shell.
Okay. Oh, okay.
You put these together. You wrap them around so they kind of like fit in the shell.
Yeah, well, what's the big thing that you're wearing on your head?
Oh,
The what?
That
the
like
ring. I
the
get it though.
What?
you're the one on your head is big, not a
Yeah.
cupcake size.
Oh no, I've been taping them together. I have this one
Oh,
to do with yet.
I see. What's up,
Yeah, you
Caleb?
combine them.
Just here for some tea.
That is
But
Nice.
super intricate, Jeremy. Super.
What tea do you recommend for like just calming? I know nothing about tea, but I've heard obviously you guys are experts. So if you just give me like newbie brand or like what should I do? High level steps. Where do I start?
Yogi Kava
I was gonna say
Definitely where we
is
started.
the best
sleepy
answer.
time.
Can
If
you say
just wanna
Kava, Kyla Bear?
Yeah.
Oh, we have Kava.
It's not technically tea, and it's in a bag, which is not encouraged here. So I drink it and think it's great, but it's yeah, that doesn't answer the question to its fullest. And
Hannah,
kava
that's
is
one of
like,
Hannah's favorite winter
Yeah.
beverages.
I heard her say that, and I was like, I love you, Hannah.
Yeah, I was reading about the effects of Kava like a month or two ago. And I was like, this sounds better than coffee. I was like, so I ordered some.
It's definitely the opposite of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is
Are
very
we talking about kava kava?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
The stuff
mildly
that if you make it
psychotropic.
strong enough, your whole face goes numb.
It's
Yeah.
slightly psychotropic, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
it's not great.
If you do the real deal, it definitely tastes like you're drinking dirt and your face goes numb.
You will wish you had a better drug on hand.
to me, from my limited times of trying it, it felt like it reacted like ketamine.
I
Where
didn't
in
get
low
anywhere close to
doses it
that.
was energy boosting, and then higher levels it was sedative.
All right. That's cool.
It compromises your liver,
Mm-hmm.
which is really important to keep in mind if you are, partaking. Just be mindful that your liver is not at full capacity. So if you drink alcohol, like your body is not going to process it. So it's actually a dangerous combo. And that's like one of the things is like professionals in the industry, like building, hospitality establishments. Hi, Joe. If you're going to be offering kava, which has become like a really popular kind of recreational type of a thing, you shouldn't have any kind of alcohol culture there at all.
Right.
Like
Yeah, I
having
gotta
your
enforce.
servers proactively keep tabs on their customers that come through, because like there was like a like sober nightlife tea bar that I was helping establish here in Las Vegas. It never opened, but they wanted to do everything, every like buzzword, every health and wellness, like trend. They wanted that spot to be it, and it's like this nightlife environment where people could like when they're bar hopping, stop off in this spot to be detoxified or to be uplifted in the middle of their party night. And they wanted to do kava, and I was like, that's gonna be such a huge burden on your servers to like know who has or hasn't drank before coming in and just kind of casually ordering kava, not knowing what it does to their body.
Yeah.
Is this a no-go with bipolar? Sorry, Sam. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna. If I'm serving kava, I usually tell people like to treat it as if it's alcohol. Like it's not, but it'll have a similar effect.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't even like when I serve it, like I typically blend it pretty heavily with other stuff, so that like it's really really faint kava, partially because it just tastes terrible. But just it's really uncomfortable for people who like don't know what they're getting themselves into. You're muted, Caleb.
Seems like he's talking to someone else.
Yeah.
He must be in a different world.
But that's why I was saying, like, if you have kava, you're probably going to want a better drug because kava is like, tastes bad. It's not very strong. It's hard on the liver.
Yeah.
Maybe
Psychoactive though.
it is a little.
Oh fuck! So I gotta stay away from this.
Yeah, I don't think you should
I'd
take it.
recommend to stay away from it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
You know
Yeah, I
what I
mean-
would recommend for anti-anxiety and just calming, outside of just any tea, like real tea, like the type of tea we talk about. It'll all have calming effect on you, all of it. Even though there's caffeine, the theanine changes the effect to like relaxing your heart rate, relaxing the core of your body, while keeping your mind stimulated. But I've recently started working with hemp flower, which, you know, people have been marketing CBD, like the wellness community has been marketing CBD, but it's not necessarily CBD directly. It's like you're infusing the flower itself like tea. And so most I think is coming out is the terpenes, like the aromas that create like a soothing effect on the body. But it's super subtle. It's really nice to enjoy. Yeah, you don't get any THC from it, so it's not psychoactive in that way. And you can find it a lot more. Hemp flower tea products, not like tea that's been treated with CBD oil. Like there's plenty of those types of products, and maybe those work. I don't know, but just if you can get the hemp flower itself and try to brew that's really calming.
Have you ever tried CBD water before? It's pretty interesting.
Is that just like a CBD extract that's been suspended in water?
Sort of. So like CBD or any like cannabinoids are obviously like hydrophobic, so it doesn't like dissolve in water. But like you can like nano encapsulate the little particles.
Yeah.
Basically, like imagine like shooting a pool ball. I don't even know what that is called, but in breaking all the pool balls and like covering them in like a surfactant, and then they become small enough so they're effectively dissolved in the water, and they like small enough that they just cross the blood-brain barrier. I think I don't know, but it like hits you pretty fast. It's pretty calming.
Yeah. And that's the direct CBD, which you can find. Like there's a lot of products that get treated with those kinds of isolates, or which the nanotechnology you're talking about is pretty mainstream now. So that's like direct CBD. So like I'm just talking about
Hemp.
Which I think you do get a little bit of CBD. Like even though it's hydrophobic, there is a little bit of extraction, but I think most of what your body reacts to is the terpenes, and they're like directly from the plant. There hasn't been any kind of like chemical process to extract those for your body to enjoy. And I'm a big fan of trying to receive things in its whole form versus taking some supplement.
But as far as teas go, I would for something that's going to be like really relaxing.
Yeah.
I would go with any like fermented teas. For me, tend to be very relaxing and grounding.
Sorry to say, I gotta take off.
Okay.
Yeah.
But y'all have a great time. All right.
Bye,
Jeremy.
Jeremy. Have a great night.
Thanks.
Be safe. You know what compound and oh yeah, you're still here. Wait, was it Caleb who asked about? Caleb asked, right? Or was it Giggle Dragon?
About what? Kava?
No, about calming tea.
That was
Oh,
good.
that was Giggle Dragon.
Okay, cool. Like if have you heard of GABA?
No.
It was a compound that.
Hello.
Hi, Frank.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome. Yeah, it's a compound that there's been a lot of medical research around, like mental stability and calmness in the brain with GABA. And I think all teas produce some level of GABA, but in Taiwan, there's been a process discovered that like accentuates the GABA production in certain oolong teas, and you can find those at a tea shop. Specifically look for GABA-rich teas. Um, Somebody that used to hang out here, Priscilla, she's from Ecuador.
What happened to her?
She, she's a busy woman, and she
Haven't
was
seen her
never
on.
able to get onto Topia. She used to hang out with us in Zoom.
Oh yeah, because of her Wi-Fi or whatever.
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, she was having computer problems and then all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
busy. I think she has a lot of things going on. But she's a therapist, and she's been experimenting with GABA-rich teas and seeing good results with a lot of her patients.
Isn't it mostly in Taiwanese oolong?
I think so. I mean, that's where the process, the specific like GABA process. But I think all teas have some level of GABA in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there's like a nitrogen fixing process that they found produces more GABA.
Are you talking GABA?
Yes.
Like there's a supplement as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's naturally in tea. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just like a bunch of other awesome things.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Cool.
theanine.
That'd be the main one. So,
And ECGC
Mhm.
catechins. Joe, what have you been up to?
What's up, Joe?
Yeah, love you guys. I'm gonna bounce this other meeting. I will see you Monday.
okay.
Yep, see you Monday.
See you Monday.
See you later.
Miami.
Here, Doug.
Bye, giggles.
Bye, love you guys.
I just got back from my solo trip out into the middle of nowhere.
Oh yeah, you were gonna go. You were gonna just go out and be naked in the middle of nowhere with no technology.
Yeah, it was a very interesting experience.
Oh.
I recommend approaching that situation with caution.
Yeah.
A lot more serious and maybe even difficult than you would imagine, because I didn't bring any distractions. I think that was the thing. I didn't bring anything to do.
No book.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I had my French press to make tea that I could harvest from around the area. So I made like pine needle and dandelion root and things like that. And then I had my cooking supplies and the fire, and that was it. There's literally nothing to do.
Yeah.
So
And how long were you gone for?
I was out there for 2 full days by myself, and then Ash came out. So, but the 2 days by myself was is the longest 2 days of your life. You know, when there's just no anything, and it was in an unfamiliar location. And I mean, familiar enough because it's the same forest that I've grown up in, but it's, I don't know any of my surroundings. I'm half an hour at least driving from civilization, more like 4 hours walking, so, and I got dropped off out there. So it was either,
Oh.
hey,
Gotcha.
yeah, it was either stay out there or like a 4 to 6 hour hike to get back to civilization. So,
Damn.
yeah,
Dang.
it was an emotional experience for sure. It was enlightening though.
Drop the knowledge.
I mean, honestly, be grateful for the stimulation and for me, it was like what I missed was the purpose and the meaningful connections and experiences that I have in my daily life. And usually I'm kind of like a little overwhelmed and a little ungrateful for all of the stuff that I do have to do. And that made me a lot more grateful for having I have like 5 lists sitting in front of me of all the things going on in my life. You know what I'm saying? So it made me a lot more grateful for those 5 lists. So
Yeah.
that was a big part of it was, you know.
Did you bring pen and paper or anything?
I had my journal. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I wrote a little bit down, but it was more of a reset than like a, you know, like a reflection, if you will.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I was going out there to kind of, the whole point was to as much nothing as possible. And it was definitely as much nothing as possible. I mean, an hour lasts a really long time. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what time it was either, though, because I literally didn't have anything.
How was the weather?
So it was great the entire time.
Good.
So, and there was one night it got real foggy up top. I was up on top of a mountain, so, or a large hill. And it got real foggy one night, but it rained shortly after I got there, but just briefly. And the rest of the time it was just gorgeous up there. A little bit of wind, nothing. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. Lots of nature. It was, you know, I got to really bond with a lot of the herbs up there and a lot of the creatures and kind of explore a little bit. But I didn't wander too far from my cabin because it wasn't about that. You know, it was about not stimulating myself, which is a lot more difficult than you think it is. So.
Yeah, I went camping on a new moon one time in the forest by
Mhm.
myself, and it was just like it was like dark night of the soul. It was like all the things I ever thought about, like conflict with friends and like people don't like me and like, oh, I really messed this up. And it was like I almost got in my car and just like left to like not do it. And I was like, no, I just lay here. And then the light came out and I was like, that's my mind. Like, that's not anything else, you know, it's not actually about those people. Like, those are my attachment wounds. Those are my like fears. And yeah.
Absolutely.
Dang.
Yeah, it's amazing what comes out when you stop stuffing things in, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bitcoin and OnlyFans.
Yeah. Stop showing your butt. It's like, come on, I want some treats. I need some treats.
Well, we're glad you're back, Joe, and that you've
Thanks.
got some fruit.
Yeah, it was definitely a worthwhile experience. It was not easy. It was fulfilling and it was enjoyable, but it was definitely not easy. And I wouldn't even call it fun necessarily. Because it was very difficult. You know, especially when you know you don't have, like, I can't just get in my car, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I can't imagine.
there was a little bit of human interaction because people would drive through. It's an old Forest Service cabin that I stayed at. It used to be a lookout, like a fire lookout way up on top of this hill. And so they have a little cabin and then they have like a big lookout tower, which is closed to the public, but let's just say that I didn't heed that sign very well. Because I like the view. But so I went up there a handful of times. But nonetheless, it's on a traveled Forest Service road, not super heavily, but there were some turkey hunters that came up there. The one Forest Service truck showed up. You know, just some random. I saw people maybe like a dozen times. Just like a lot of those were just driving past. I didn't talk to them. I talked to some people, 2 older people on horses that showed up, but really it's pretty deserted up there. And so, but it's so I had like a fireplace at night to keep, because it was still a little chilly up there.
Yeah.
So that was my only company, was some tea from the pine needles and in the fireplace. And you don't realize how much company a fire is until you're completely alone like that.
Yeah.
That may have
When
been,
we moved in here, 2 days after we moved in, a big windstorm came through and knocked a whole bunch of shit down and like knocked our power out for like the week. So it's like the house has plenty of windows and we could be super productive during the day because don't need any lights.
Mhm.
And then the sun would go down. It would just be like dark. And so we would put a fire on in the fireplace and we would just like sit and watch caveman TV.
Yep.
And like by the third night we were like, haven't we already seen this episode?
It's a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
That fire might have been my saving grace, to be honest.
Probably.
Yeah.
I probably would have hoofed it back into town or something.
3 a.m. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going.
Yeah. Well, and it's real eerie too, being in an unfamiliar location, a bunch of sounds that you're not familiar with. And, not that I'm afraid of coyotes or anything, but the coyotes start going off at about 7, 8 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? It just gets creepier and creepier from there. So. And
What time does it get dark there?
Right now it's getting dark at about 8:30.
Okay.
Something like that. So, yeah, it was good though. I'm glad to be back in society. I'm a lot more grateful than when I left.
Good.
So, I have no shortage of people that love me. I'll tell you that much, because I disappeared and I had several people that were like calling around trying to figure out where I was at, because, you know what I mean? I come back and it's like there's several people that are like, oh my God, we're trying to find, So grateful for all of my network as well.
Nice.
Because if anything were to happen to me, they'd know within like a day,
I don't think we would have found out.
Yeah, that would have been like a long mystery. If anything really did happen to me and Ash, you'd have no idea.
Would have been like, I know Joe said he was going to be busy for the summer, but
Yeah, and then the winter
long
come around
time.
and you just never hear anything, and Elise never gets any more orders, and like you're just like, what? You just disappeared, man.
And we'd still be talking shit on Monday nights.
Yeah.
Joe told us to come here and he never comes.
Yeah. It is getting much busier though, I will say that.
That's
Like,
good for you. The markets
yeah.
and such.
Yeah, yep.
Good.
So that and a bunch of events coming up, and just, it's just one thing after another, it seems like. Plus, we're trying to spend a lot more time in the woods this year.
Good.
So it, but for us, it's like we really only have 3-4 months to do this.
yeah.
So it's like take advantage of it while it's here, because everything just shuts down after
And
October. So
in Oregon, everyone would just disappear for the summer because it's like, gotta go do the things. Like,
Mhm.
and then they
Weather's
disappear
good.
in the winter because they're all indoors, bunkering down.
Right.
It was weird to get used to.
Weather's good.
thinking
We're
that-
gonna go do stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're out and about.
Yeah, and actually the 15th was the day that they opened all the gates. So the Forest Service, or the Forest Service, opens all the gates for all the roads and all the trails and everything. So like the Black Hills is open again,
Gotcha.
And then come October, they shut everything and don't maintain all those roads. And you can go if you got like cross country skis or something, but that's about it. So yeah, it's getting busy around here. Tourists are showing up. A bunch of the campgrounds are filling up.
Yeah, I
Yep.
wanted to go away from my environment this weekend, and I don't want to be alone. I want to be connected. So I don't really know like a good compromise for myself to.
That was what I was thinking. There's no way you could make me go out and be alone for 2 days. Never mind the technology thing.
Yeah.
I've been alone for a year.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So
That kind of alone is something else, though. Let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, I think if I were gonna do
It's a very
something like
different thing,
that,
but yeah.
like it wouldn't bother me to do something like that if I were like doing a long hike.
Right.
Like
Well,
I
yeah,
could go
because you
do
have a
I could go do a 2 or 3 day hike on my own. I don't think that would be any problem.
It's
But
because
to go and just like sit somewhere for 2 days, like I could see that being not fun.
Yeah. It's you have that goal, with the hike. You have this like journey and this purpose and this whole, there's like some meaning there. That's why I brought that up, is because there was no purpose or point or like meaning per se. It was just like literally sit there and
Yeah, or you just go be the monk in the cave, or
Right.
just sit on top of the mountain and like be.
Did you do any hiking or walking around, exploring?
I walked around the area a little bit, and I wanted to bond with the flora and fauna up there. Basically, I wanted to kind of see what was growing up in that area and what kind of wildlife was up there. And so I did a little bit, but I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go too far from the cabin just in case something happened, because there's no one up there, But also, I didn't want to get too distracted. I didn't want to give myself some adventure, because that wasn't the point. It's the same thing when I go back to the cabin. It was like, because I've done a lot of time. And what you do when you're locked in a cell is you go into daydream land, and you go into like fantasy land, and you just start playing out these scenarios, and you just have your way in your imaginary realm, and it was the same thing when I get back to the cabin. I'd start to like go into daydream land and be like, no, like that's not why you're here, and come back to present. And that it's really difficult. It's a heavy feeling, because we are such social creatures. We're so wow. I don't know who that is. We are so incredibly dependent on each other. It's wild. And then Ash had her own experience with me being gone for 2 days. Like she imagined all of the awful things that could happen to me while I was out there, basically. Same thing with my mom. My mom was not happy about it.
Bye, Charlotte. We'll see you next time. Have a wonderful
Bye.
night. Well, that's a good experience.
Yeah, like I said, approach it with caution if you ever do it, and don't think you can do, because I planned on longer, and the 2 days was hard enough. So.
Yeah.
Wait, if you planned on longer, how did it get cut short?
Well, originally I had planned on doing it 4 days by myself, but then with everything, just the way everything worked out, we had decided to have Ash come up the second day. The end of the second day, I guess, because she had to work, but then she was going to come up and stay the last 2 nights with me. But that wasn't my original plan, and I can only imagine if I would have been up there for 4 days by myself. Like, I
might have started levitating.
I probably would have hiked back. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna try and act tough or nothing like that. The 2 days was enough. But next time I'm gonna just plan the 2 days, do it again, and I'll be a little bit more familiar with the experience, and then maybe I can make it a yearly thing. Something.
Yeah.
Like that.
I feel like if I were going to do something like that, like everything that you have mentioned about like, this is not the point, this is not the point, this is not the point.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, I think I would probably like, I always kind of get to this point with myself where it's like, yes, I could have the willpower. I can have the willpower to deny myself. But then it's like, why? Is kind of the question that I always ask. And like at a certain point, then it's like, well, is this just like an act of egoic will?
Right.
Where it's like, I'm doing this because I said I would.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to do it to see what happened. I didn't have any idea what it would be like. And I figured out what it was like, and it was not what I expected. So, because you're I'm the kind of person I really appreciate, like just going out into the woods for the day and just getting away from society and just being like, forest bathing. I'm really comfortable in the woods alone. I do just fine. I grew up here and doing that kind of thing. But that's like a temporary deal. And for the most part, you're still connected. You still have transportation or something. You know what I mean? There's all these connections.
Yeah, for sure.
But when you get dropped off out there, it was like, I want to know how I act when I am completely cut off from all these threads as best as I possibly can anyway. Like I said, I had the fire, I had tea. I did have a couple of things that were definitely keeping me. They were definitely my saving grace, but there isn't. I see what you're saying. Is there is a level of like, am I just being stubborn trying to prove something to myself?
Right.
But there really was a point. There was like a what's underneath all this.
Good. I'm glad. It sounds like you got what you were looking for.
Yeah. It was.
So glad.
Yeah. I got what I didn't know I was looking for, but yeah, it was powerful. That's for sure. So I'll do it again. I'll be a little bit more intimidated when I go do it next time, because this time I was like, yeah, I'll be good. First day was like fine. It was like a camping trip, And then the first night, was kind of like, okay, it's kind of creepy out here in the woods by yourself, and I went to sleep, no problem. Slept good, slept in a little bit, And then the next day it was like, okay, make breakfast, And then it was like, oh shit.
Now what do I do?
It's fucking quiet out here, Like there was nothing to do. And it was like, oh, well, you have this voice in your head that's like, oh, don't worry, I'll just go. Wait.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, it's fine. I'll just go. I'll just there. No. You know what I mean? You're like, I don't have anything to distract myself with. Usually it's like, I'll check my phone, or I'll read a book, or I'll go for a walk, or da.
Yep.
So.
When I joined the Peace Corps, it was pretty much a decision made very spontaneously. Like, I had no intention. I didn't even know what the Peace Corps really was. I didn't research it much. Someone had just recommended it for me and said it would be good for my resume, and so I just did it out of that type of effort. And all the other people in my cohort that left with me and went there, oh my goodness, Bitcoin. They all knew what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they went with some intention, knowing that there was going to be a lot of time of isolation, and so they brought books and brought things to do. I didn't bring any of that stuff. I had no idea what I was getting into. I just went with the flow. I don't know. I didn't want to put too much attention into worrying about that thing.
Right.
But how the Peace Corps does it is they do like 2 months of training. And so you're like in a centralized facility with the other members of the cohort. It's very social. It's very easy to assimilate into this new place that you're at. And then after that 2 months, they send you to the village that you'll be living in, and they require that you stay there for a month because they want to like really challenge you to see if you can spend the rest of the 2 years there. And so they like don't let you travel out of the village. They don't allow other Peace Corps volunteers to visit you because they really want you to practice language and get to know your community, and then decide from that point if you're really going to stick it out. Because like with the Peace Corps, you can quit at any time. Like, very easy. You can quit any time. Just one phone call and you're on an airplane by the end of the day. And even for that, I didn't really plan out or think what it was I had no anxiety about it. I had no ideas or thoughts about it. I was just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. 1 month. Okay, let's do it. And that was like, just like what you were talking about. Like of course I was in a village. There was probably like 180 people total, like children and adults in the village that, I could have been social with, but I didn't know language yet. So, my time that I spent socializing was really like less than 30 minutes a day. and I would get frustrated about language, and so I would just like, okay, I'm gonna go. And the tasks that they did were very different and then it was also fucking hot.
Yeah.
You know? So like, you're really wanting just to like sit and do nothing. I took no books with me. I took not a single book with me. I don't know what I was thinking. I did have a journal, and I'm grateful for that because I did end up developing a practice every single morning to write in a journal for 2 hours every day.
Nice. Awesome.
I didn't really write thoughts or ideas. It was more of just like directly like remembering what happened the day before and just like a play-by-play of what happened. That's what I felt inspired to write about. And you know what? I tried to share that with so many other Peace Corps volunteers, and like I got so much shit for that. Like, what? I'm so grateful I did that because now I can look back on it, and it's like all those memories are like crisp and there.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, journals don't always have to be like poetic or meaningful. Like, it's just a practice to.
Yep. There's so many different ways you can do your journal. Ash is like got a free flowing kind of way that she does it. You never know what's going in her journal. Mine's very like it's like those deep meaningful statements. Usually that's what goes in my journal.
Yeah, I don't do that. I just I don't know.
I'm
I don't
too
think in that way, and that's okay.
I'm too orderly. So, but yeah, I feel you. It's you don't realize like how heavy boredom is, I guess, because even in my prison, you always had something to look forward to. Every few hours or every couple hours or so, there was something. There was chow. There was, there was rec time. There was, you could go out into the day hall and watch TV or what, you know what I'm saying? However, depending on where you're at, in trustee, you're busy all the time, which is where I did most of my time. So you're working and doing all sorts of shit. But, even in the maximum prison, it was, there was always something to look forward to every couple hours, and then there was some social time and this and that. But that was not like, it was nothing like that, let me tell you. Because I didn't know what time it was either. So I think that drove me just as crazy as anything else. You don't have any sense of like, how long do I have left? And you're just kind of trying to judge by the sun. And so you're like, you kind of know what time it is, but not really.
Well, you know the finger trick, right?
What exactly?
So if you're looking at like this, if you're trying to like judge how long until the sun goes down,
right?
You take your one hand. This is an hour,
right?
And every finger that goes away is 15 minutes about.
Mm-hmm.
So like you could theoretically like stack two hands and like from the horizon to the sun, this would be 2 hours. And then every 15 minutes, you're going to lose a finger.
I see what you're saying.
But that's only going to give you 2 hours.
Yeah, that'll give you 2 hours until sunset.
Right. Well, and I kind of knew when it was getting close to sunset, and I knew what time the sun sets and things like that. You can tell when it's noon.
Yeah.
Straight up sort of thing. So it was like you kind of sort of had an idea, but then you'd be like, oh, it's been an hour. And you look at the shadows and you're like, it has not been an hour.
And that's kind of like Burning Man time where there's 2 times of day, sunrise and sunset.
Yeah. But in Burning Man, time's flying because you're in deep immersed in an experience.
Right.
Or not.
Yeah, there's very slow periods of Burning Man time.
Yeah.
It's one or the. It's usually one or the other, where time is either not moving or it's racing.
Yeah, yeah. We either way, it's like you're immersed, So, I don't know if I would call that immersed. I guess I was immersed in some sort of way, but
so I did have a watch, but I never used it.
Right.
When I was going through that experience where it would be like weeks at a time of just staring at a wall, time wasn't important to me. I think the only thing that mattered was like if it was dark and time to sleep, like that was the only thing that I'd be excited about. But surprisingly, of all of that experience, first, I don't associate any type of spiritual realizations with that experience itself. other than like being empowered. Because like in hindsight, like while I was going through those experiences, I never once like was like, oh my gosh, this is miserable. I want to like I never wanted to quit from that experience, and I was really surprised by that because I was like expecting that like I was constantly gonna be challenged by that, like looking at my phone and thinking if I'm gonna call to quit or not. Like I thought that that was gonna happen, but it never did. I never got bored, and yeah, so the takeaway I felt was just how empowering boredom can be. And that's just okay. Like I didn't lose anything, you know, like we have this like anxiety that we're missing out on something or losing something when we waste our time not doing something.
Right.
And that was really empowering. But
yeah, I can dig that. There was definitely a sense of you know, it felt rewarding to some extent to know that I was allowing myself to not worry about all of the things, because that was part of it too. I wasn't sitting there thinking about all the shit that I had to do or all the stuff that I could do. That was out the window as well. It's like that's every time I'd start thinking about something, I'd just come back to my breath, you know. So I was basically out there meditating for 2 days and making tea and cooking over a cast iron skillet. So
it's something that I have used to like benefit my meditation practice a lot, is this like understanding that like I've blocked this time off for this,
right,
and nothing else matters.
I know exactly where you're headed.
Like the things that are everything that starts to bother me, like, yeah, that's fine, that's not for this time, I've blocked this time off for this, and
yep,
fine.
the great organizer set this time aside for that, so you don't have to worry about anything. You already
I don't have to worry about this right now. That's not what this time is for.
Right. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. That was basically the situation out there. But I do the same thing with meditation and you know, other activities like that, where I'm like, I purposely am sitting here. Like, it's fine. I don't need to go do all that other shit. But that's basically what it was. It was the timer's
gonna beep in 20 minutes, and then I'll be done, and then I can go, and then I can worry about this. But for now, I don't need to.
Right. That was exactly it. It was like, well, Ash is gonna show up eventually, so just sit here, enjoy it. So it was that second night was rough, though. I will let you know that. Like, it was.
He did 2 nights, and then she showed up in the morning.
No, she showed up that next evening, basically at about 5:30 that next day. So I got up there at 5:30, did 24 hours, and then another 24 hours, basically, roughly. It was, I think I got up there at 4 or 5, and then she showed up at like 5:30 that 2 days later. So yeah, it was.
Hey, I'm gonna go check out this other gallery, but I might pop back if you guys are still around.
Word.
Cool.
Enjoy.
Have fun.
See you later.
Guys.
Hey Joe, I've got a question about
what's up?
Prison experience.
Okay.
I, in my Constitution study group yesterday, was looking into child support.
Yeah.
Like the role that child supports, and there was like a statistic in one of the reports that I was reading that said in this particular county, this is not for the country as a whole, but in this particular county, 1 out of 8 people that were in the prison system were there specifically because of unpaid child support. That seems like pretty incredible. Like,
that's a high rate.
Okay.
I would say that probably 1 out of 4 people in prison had unpaid child support.
Yes.
But that
also was the same stat I saw that as well.
Right, because they make you pay it while you're in there too. So if you're on work release, some of your money is going to child support. Some of the money that you're making, but I would say it's lower than that here for the most part. It was like, I would say primarily people go to prison around here for DUIs and drugs. Yeah. And then you get like violent offenses after that, and then maybe child support after that.
I see.
You know, but we do have some pretty crazy child support laws here as well. So
It's the whole country. It's the whole country.
Yeah, it's really messed up too because it ruins a lot of these dudes' lives.
And then ultimately it affects the family and the child.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, they don't get a dad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they set them up kind of for failure too, is unfortunately. So, they're like, oh, you can't get a license, you can't do any of this stuff. Oh, we're gonna put you in jail, this and that, da da da. And so they're like effectively making it impossible for them to support their child. It's like, oh, well, I don't have a license. How am I supposed to have a job? And then you just become this fucking loser eventually. You know what I mean? And then you get locked up for it because they've taken away all those rights. Hold on one sec, guys.
Okay. Oh, on my own, all on my own over here. That's cool. Even Bitcoin left me. At least Maya and Maisie are still hanging out. Let's at least get us dancing. Over here having our own little dance party. You can hear all the crickets. Tomorrow is International Tea Day. I do not have any specific programming planned. I will be doing my typical Best Life Friday in the evening. Probably will address International Tea Day. And there is going to be some other programming that is not going to be on our platform that I'll be engaging with, including a conversation on Clubhouse. That's going to be very early in the morning, I think 7 Pacific. So, I'm going to be there and listening in, and there's several other programming to celebrate International Tea Day. Unfortunately, the UN is not doing anything, but yeah, keep your eyes out. There's going to be a little celebration. Little celebration for tea and the origins of tea. So it's not really a marketing holiday that we're meant to advocate for tea culture, but more talking about the origin of tea. Hey, Sam.
Hey, you said so National Tea Day is coming up?
International Tea Day is tomorrow.
What?
Yeah, remember last year it was on a Thursday, I remember, and we celebrated. So it's now officially a UN holiday. And it's meant to observe the stories of the origin of tea, and to talk about the issues around it. So I don't have any programming planned. There's usually a lot of programming that comes around for it, but yeah, I'm gonna be participating. That's why I got onto Clubhouse, because there's gonna be a discussion happening tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock in the morning. So if anybody wants the link to that, I can provide that. Supposedly talking about transparency. We'll see.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll see. They invited me. I don't know if that means they want me to speak or do anything, but I'll at least be in the room. And then I think there's a virtual tea summit happening. The Tea and Herb Association of Canada is producing. Yeah. But last year, the UN put together this really great live streaming program. But unfortunately, on their website, I'm not seeing that they're doing anything like that again this year. So, gonna miss out on that. It's always good to see that perspective, you know, because like we are so much like in a tunnel of like learning and speaking on this subject within, you know, highly specialized perspectives that like we are very familiar with. So it's always good to hear these stories and to hear what the outsider's perspective, especially like within the UN, right, which tends to be diplomatic people, business people, people that have like very deep experience
and influence.
and influence, yes, and but not the kind of experience that we have or that our networks get exposed to, and then to hear them speak on tea is really great, which is like why I'm really excited about this new strategy that I have with TikTok, because it's kind of the same thing, right? Where it's like these like influencers that do have valid experiences, but those valid experiences have never been applied to like the trade of tea or the connoisseurship of tea. Yeah, I look forward to like asking the right questions. You know, that's what felt really empowering, to ask that question, like with that specific example of like commenting on the guy, the chai CEO guy.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, you know, like isn't Ceylon a colonizing word that we need to cancel? You know, which would usually be like someone's first response to like do that gatekeeping versus like asking the question to get the person with that valid direct experience to get them to say it. Or
Yeah, well, that's a lot of what like you and I talked about in some of the reflections that we had over the past week or so, is like finding opportunities to ask questions rather than make statements is really, really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good job. Proud of you.
Yeah, it felt good. It felt good. I was like, okay, I need to do this more often. I need to do it more. And it was like, it was well received, which is the important thing.
Usually genuine questions aren't.
Yeah.
And like that's the best way. It's the best way that I've found to engage difficult conversations is by asking questions.
Yeah. Yeah, and asking the right people too. You know, I always thought that like we needed to ask the knowledgeable people on these things, and it's like sometimes the people that have that knowledge you don't even know. Like you wouldn't think that they have that knowledge, their experience is coming from a different perspective, but they can acquire that knowledge, you know, by asking them the right questions. And then they make the discovery, and then, you know, they start advocating that information versus putting all that burden on somebody else. It's not their responsibility at all.
Yeah.
Hey, Don. How's it going? Happy Thursday. Don was telling me that he was being served a video ad on Facebook for an Indian commercial on International Tea Day that had images of Chinese women plucking tea. That seemed interesting. I hope Joe's okay. I hope he didn't, you know, go out into the woods on his own.
Oh, you know what? We didn't ask him.
What?
We didn't ask him if he pooped in the woods.
Oh, for sure. Let's ask about that. That's a really important question. I'm sure he did, and I'm sure he loved it. It was probably an exhilarating experience. There is something nice about being out in nature. I think I'm going to go to the ocean this weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know where or what, but I had a meeting scheduled on Saturday, but I moved it to tomorrow to give my weekend open.
Good.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
So you'll head out west.
Yes.
Sweet.
Me and Bitcoin. Gonna go do
Good.
my thing. Yeah, and if there's anything interesting going on, I'm just gonna live stream it, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. I'm
first...
stoked to gonna get to see some of the Tea House family.
Oh yeah, people coming to visit you?
What?
Are people coming to visit you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Probably gonna have like 7 to 10 people, maybe.
Damn, that's a big group. That's this weekend?
Yep.
Cool.
So we shall see. It's so interesting, like especially as like coordinating an event. It's like dancing around the vaccine question.
Yeah.
And like how do you handle that? And it's like I'm really not a proponent of it being like a gatekeeping type thing where it's like if you're not vaccinated you can't come. But it's more I've treated it much more like almost and again, like I haven't been single for 15 years, but like sharing your activity and your status, and it's just like, have you had an STD test?
Mm-hmm.
If you were in those sorts of relationships with people, like that's a common that should be a common question.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of the same kind of thing going on now.
I think it's totally valid to have that be a part of the conversation. I don't think anybody's going to feel uncomfortable.
Right, and that's kind of the way that I've got. Like I'm like, yeah, like this should be part of the conversation. If you're not vaccinated, there'll probably be follow-up questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's valid.
And
especially if Oshan is a part of the crew going. Like I know that he's been posting pretty passionately about that culture, which
Yeah, and it's like very much. I feel very strongly against the idea of closing the doors to people who are not vaccinated.
Yeah, you don't have to do that, and just open.
But there is a consent conversation that needs to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the casinos here in Vegas are not having that conversation. They have actively announced that they're 100% trusting the honor system.
Right.
With no communication needed.
Yeah, and that's basically, and I, at a certain level, I am too. But I am asking for communication, and if somebody that decides not to,
that's a huge difference. That's
right.
The difference between rape culture and not rape culture. It's a huge difference. Yeah. That's an interesting analogy to bring into that. Like the sexual relationship. And, we've been kind of bringing that metaphor up since the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah. But I mean, at a certain point, it's like, hey, are we going to go without protection?
Yeah.
Like, that's basically what we're talking about is like, are we going to take the barrier down between our bodies and have an intimate relationship, which used to involve, like, the definition of an intimate relationship now is being unmasked in close quarters with somebody feels much more intimate now than it did.
Mm-hmm. Not for everybody, though.
Right.
And so that's where it's like, hey, yeah, maybe we should have this conversation, because if you're feeling this way, like, does that translate over to how you handle your sexual intimacy? And if it is, then that's rape culture. That's active rape culture. Which it needs to be addressed, because that culture exists. Like, it totally exists. Unconsensual intimacy is happening all the time. And now it's happening with the mask thing, you know? And that's why, like, I kind of don't want to be going to the casinos. Even though I'm vaccinated, I feel like, yeah, there's, like, unconsensual, non-consensual intimacy happening in a wide scale.
Okay.
Hey, Joe, we have an important question for you.
Oh dear.
Yeah, how was the pooping out in the woods?
Does Joe poop in the woods if nobody's there to see it?
None for
Oh no.
about 3 days. Yeah, I didn't actually go until yesterday.
Okay, well.
So
Joe doesn't poop in the woods if nobody's there to see it.
it was just stress, man. It was interesting. So there was a vault toilet. So if I would have had to, I mean, it would have been easy. But there was like a Forest Service type vault toilet out there. Yeah, and I even noticed it about halfway through. I was like, wow, I haven't had nothing. There was no movement, nothing. It was just, I think it was just stress induced. Like, you know, it just stopped everything because I was eating. Yeah, it was crazy. So that was definitely something I noticed. Yeah.
Hey, so follow-up question, and the whole reason why I even asked about the child support thing is, like, stigma. I don't know this, so I'm completely ignorant to how stigma of, like, why you're there between different people. Like, is it something that's unspoken on? Like, you know, what did you do to get in here? And, like, if people do find out that you're in there solely because of unpaid child support, is there stigma around that, or is there, like, kind of clicking that happens around that, or I don't know.
If you don't immediately reveal what you're in there for, you're gonna have a bad time. People will get into your stuff, find your papers, because if you're a chomo, if you're in there for child molestation or something like that, everybody wants to know because they're gonna treat you like shit. If you are. Yeah. Wow. So if you're basically, like, if you aren't, or a snitch for that matter, you know what I'm saying? So, like, if you don't figure out, if the general population doesn't know what you're in there for, you're hiding it, and they're immediately gonna assume that you're in there for something really fucked up, which is like child molestation. And it don't matter. Prisoners do not look highly upon, like, a child molester. I mean, they have literally a PC unit, protective custody. So that's the unit where the snitches and the chomos go. So, like, if you are known to have told on people, or you are known to have been touching children, you get to go to a separate unit because you're going to get harassed or beat up or whatever constantly in the general population. I mean, it's just like the outside world. Like, people don't take highly to that charge. As far as so basically, everybody knows what everybody's in there for.
Okay. So then what if you're in for, like, a non-violent, you know, something like child support that is just a rigged system? Like,
you're probably going to get more compassion than anything.
Okay.
Yeah, because everybody in there is getting screwed by the system somehow. You know, we all know what it's like to be screwed by the system, and that's one of the, like, most screwed by the system you can get. So, because you didn't really do anything wrong, you know what I'm saying? You didn't do something right, but you didn't really do anything wrong, you know what I mean? So,
but it sounds like there's not a, like, people don't look down on you because you weren't doing something hard, kind of thing.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, for the most part, I mean, like I said, for the most part, especially here, but I could say this is probably true across the nation. Most people are in prison for drugs. So
But
like
yeah, the war on drugs has been super effective.
almost everybody in prison is there for drugs, you know. And then like I said, you've got a lesser population that's in there for like violent, or robbery, things like that get a little bit more serious. If it's got to do with guns, you're in Fed prison, and I know nothing about how that runs. So, if you've got a federal charge, you're in a different prison system, and I'm not exactly sure how that goes. I definitely know it's more serious though. So, but yeah, it's for the most part, we're all just trying to fucking get along for the most part. It's a kind of an interesting community. It's more like the military than anything. Like everybody's, for the most part, everybody's got each other's back, and it's kind of like us against them. It's the inmates against the system and against the guards, and everybody's trying to get away with something. There's commerce, constant drug traffic and tobacco and all sorts of stuff going on in there. So everybody's trying to kind of just get along. You have a few of those assholes in there, but they end up doing something stupid and getting put in a more maximum security deal where you get less and less contact with people. I was in minimum most of the time I was in that you get to interact with everybody every day, and the higher up you go, the less you get to see people. You know what I'm saying? The higher security prison you go to, where you're 23-hour lockdown, and then you get rec time, and then you go back to your cell, and you might have a roommate, but you don't get to really hang out and do anything. With us, it was like the day hall you get like kind of roam freely around the prison unit, for the most part. There's times where you have to be in certain spots and things like that, but yeah, as far as child support, you get a lot of compassion in there. You'd be like, I'm in here for unpaid child support, and the next guy be like, man, that fucking sucks. Like, that's gonna be the response. They're not gonna be like, really, dude, you can't fucking take care of your kids. You know what I'm saying? It's that's not, because if you didn't pay child support, it's not even about that. Most of the people who can't pay child support got other fucking problems going on. They got drug issues going on, or they got, they couldn't get a license and they couldn't have a job, and then all this other, you know what I mean? All this other stuff. It's not that they didn't love their children. I mean, everybody in there misses their kids and their family and their significant other, and everybody's got that in common, And
only 25% of child support, like total collected child support in the country, is actually going to the child.
Right.
The rest of it is to pay back social services.
Yeah.
So it's easy to understand that someone would feel defeated that like 50% of their paycheck is always going to be pulled from them to pay for health insurance that they thought was supposed to be free.
Right. Right.
And it's the full amount. It's like, so, it's not like, it's like, oh, you've got to pay back for the premium and the deductible. It's like, no, you got to pay back for the whole thing. So that's so problematic.
Yeah, it's a real big issue. And, especially when you're trying to get your life together, and they take away so many of your rights because of child support. I mean, you can't get a fishing license. You can't, there's so much stuff. And so it's just, people have so many problems with this. It's absolutely awful. I'm grateful that I've, have been a little bit more responsible with my sexual encounters. But, it really sucks to watch some really good people who are really trying just get boned by that system time and time again. It'll break a dude. He'll be working super hard, and then that'll just ruin everything he's been working for, and then he just gives up. You know what I mean? And ends up back in prison again. Because he's been trying to get his shit together, and then they come around and they're like, oh, well, we're taking your shit from you or something. You know what I mean? And it's awful, dude. It is rough.
Yeah, I didn't know about it. And so far, pretty much everybody that I've talked to about it, outside of you, who, you've been around people that have experienced that, people don't know.
Right.
And I think it's really empowering for more people to know, so that way they can share with someone else, because I think a lot of it ends up being unintentional. It's not that
Absolutely.
the mother wants to put him in this
Nope.
position. She's just like, because the social services are being actively marketed outreach to mothers, like, hey, take the Medicaid, take the food stamps, it's going to be good for you.
Yeah, baby's daddy will pay it.
No,
Yeah.
they don't tell them that.
Right,
That's
of
not
course.
like full transparency.
Yeah,
Maybe-
that's
maybe-
why you go to court. This is what you do when you have a child and then you split up and you go to court and you're like, this is what we're doing, and you decide on it so that the state's not involved. You know what I'm saying? Because if you can't come to some sort of agreement, the state will decide what that agreement will be, and that's when the problems come into play. You know, if you can come to an agreement and then go to court and be like, this is what we've decided on, then there's no issues. You know what I'm saying? So, and a lot of the times, you know, it will come to like signing away your rights just so that you don't get locked up. You know what I mean? Like, and then you technically don't have the rights to your kids.
You can't do that though. The only way that becomes a valid contract is if there's a readoption.
As far as like someone else taking over from the right,
That's
exactly.
the only way. So like
yeah, you can't do it like voluntarily yourself, you know. And there has to be consent from the other side too.
And then it sometimes, like, let's say the mother and father are not in a relationship and it just accidentally happens, and the mother is independent and like doesn't even tell the father that he's a father. Like, if the father has like genetics information in the databases, like the 23andMe and those, like, they're starting to use those databases to paternize children, because the states, like, they want to get paid back for social services. So sometimes these guys don't even know they're a father, and then they get served with like a court order, and it's like, what?
Yeah, well, you know, at least in my situation, my dad wasn't responsible for child support until she got the paternity proven, and then it started. And they notified him immediately, you know. So it was like that first few years of my life, she wasn't getting nothing out of the deal, and then I started getting Social Security out of it. So, which I don't anymore because he's gone. But yeah, it's a messed up deal, man. And like you said, it's not really intentional either. It's part of it's the state trying to cover their ass, or the federal government trying to cover their asses, you know, from all this money that they're putting out. And then on the other side, it's the female trying to support their child, and then on the other hand, it's the dad trying to get his life together, you know. And shit runs downhill, and he's then one that ends up paying for it all, you know. And it just makes that whole I'm trying to get my life together that much more difficult. I have seen some really good dudes just get wrecked by child support, man. It's so hard. It's so hard to watch. I don't know what it's like myself personally, but it's brutal, man.
Yeah, be careful. Maintain good communication.
Right. Well, and you know, a lot of the times the problem is just resentment and emotion, and you know, the best thing you can do is get along with your co-parent. I mean, it's the best thing you can do is get along with them and be able to come to some sort of agreement so that the state just never gets involved. It's like anymore, a lot of people will say, you know, don't call the cops unless you absolutely have to, because they usually make it worse. And I've seen this happen 100 times, like domestic disputes, all sorts of shit. You know what I'm saying? It just becomes a way, way, way more problematic issue when you get the cops involved. And it's the same thing with the child support system. It's like, just don't even get the state involved if you don't have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at least weren't you were basically saying, like, it doesn't even matter, even if the co-parents get along just fine, if the mother receives social benefit, they're going to hold the father responsible.
Yes.
I think that depends on
every state, they automatically trigger, at least for Medicaid. Some states will include like WIC and EBT food stamps with it.
Right.
But like Medicaid is definitely something that triggers child support.
Fair enough.
with or without the mother's consent. Like,
Right.
it's just gonna, because the state wants to get paid back on that, and that's not something like if you go to Medicaid's website
Mm-hmm.
and you like read all the marketing materials, how to sign up, and that's not mentioned anywhere in that stuff, anywhere. Which is kind of sly, because a lot of women are probably unintentionally getting the fathers into trouble.
Right.
They're just
Right.
seeking the help.
Yeah, most of these women aren't doing. It's not the, a lot of the men. That's a big issue too. Is a lot of the men will blame it on the women, to some extent. Just because that's the closest cause as far as they can see, not seeing that the woman's just trying to, take advantage of the programs that are available to her.
Yeah.
And then the child support just stacks up and stacks up.
Yeah, they don't even know.
No, huh?
Yeah.
So you see more resentment come out of that too. And it's like a lot of these times the women aren't even, they don't even care. You know what I'm saying? They're like, fuck that guy. Like, I don't, I got this, but I am going to use some state benefits. And they don't realize, well, that's
someone's
coming from him,
He's going to pay that.
Right.
So like social workers know this, and if you ask them, they will educate you, but it's not like proactively in the materials.
In the literature, yeah.
To like let women know that this is what's going to happen.
Right.
Which is shitty because that's like guaranteed to doom the relationship between the child and the father.
Absolutely.
If there was any potential of a relationship being
until they become an adult, and then they have to like seek them out themselves and then build this whole brand new relationship. I've seen that happen a lot, where the child gets curious eventually. Actually, I just did that recently. Like every once in a while, my dad passed away when I was 7. And so I don't know any of his family. I'm not connected to him at all. But I had a very rich family life on my mom's end of the spectrum. So I never really like felt like I was lacking anything. But as I got older, I started to get curious, and every once in a while I'll go down a rabbit hole and do some Googling and like try and, based on the few little details I know, try and find some stuff related to the other side of my family. And I ended up hitting just like a month or 2 ago, I ended up hitting a Facebook post about my grandfather, who was like kind of a famous contortionist and weightlifter.
Cool.
He was a bodybuilder. He had his own line of weightlifting equipment and everything. He was pretty popular, honestly. If I said the last name in the weightlifting community, they'd probably all know who I was talking about. But he used to train with Schwarzenegger and all this stuff. And but my mom and my dad were 19 years apart too. So there's this big age gap to where my dad's almost old enough to be my grandpa, and then my grandpa is like even a further generation back, But I was Googling and this and that, and I ran into a Facebook post about my grandpa, and in the comments, one chick down at the very bottom, the only comment about family wise, she was like, I miss my grandfather every day, and I was like, cool. And I just commented randomly. This was like 3 years ago, this Facebook post. And I just commented and I was like, can I ask how you're related? Because he's my grandfather too. And then she messaged me like shortly thereafter, and I actually learned a whole bunch about my family that I never even knew. This was like it was kind of a breakthrough because they're all from like Massachusetts and that area, and so I've never really known anything about them, but now I have one of my cousins on my Facebook friends, at least. So I have a little kind of channel. Wasn't really anything too crazy, but yeah, I mean, you'll see a lot of that as kids get older. They'll try and cultivate a relationship outside of their mom's permission.
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you'd hope that there's not any resentment there.
Right. Well, there a lot of the kids are taught your dad was a piece of shit,
Yeah.
and that's unfortunate. But a lot of kids are kind of like, well, my mom's kind of crazy too. Maybe I'm going to check out and see what my dad's like.
I'm not talking about the resentment from the kid's side, but like the resentment from the father's side, right?
Oh,
like
got you.
He's
Yeah.
been in these like constant cycles of incarceration because of child support for a child he's never met before.
Right.
And then this kid shows up. You know, it may be difficult for a connection to happen.
Honestly, usually he's mad at the mom. Yeah. That's what you see a lot is they're mad at their baby mama. So co-parent, whatever you want to call it. So it's a crazy situation. That's kind of part of the problem with social benefits too, is that third party complications, you know. So
I just like I hear a lot of like argument and resentment of, you know, wealthy people that don't like paying taxes because they don't like supporting social services. And they'll say, oh, you know, these women, they just get knocked up and the government takes care of them, and if they have trouble they just have another baby and the government will take care of them. And it's like yes, but
I've seen some, I'm not gonna lie, I've seen a couple of women do it willingly, you know.
Yeah, but someone's eventually going to pay for it.
Right.
You know,
right. Where they're, I mean, like I've seen women do that, like specifically go down that road where they're like, well, I'll just live off the government, you know, because they're just unbearable and can't find a partner. So, you know, it's a real sly situation, but not that the dudes are any smarter in that situation. So.
I mean, I definitely have family who he was doing fairly well, and he got his girlfriend who they were going to get married. She got pregnant. She also went nuts, so they didn't get married. And it was like nasty court battles around things like child support, which are, in California at least, are largely all built off of equations of the father's income.
Yep.
And this was a woman who didn't work at all. And he was paying her $70,000 a year.
Just because the father made a lot of money.
Because the father had a successful business.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that ruins his business too. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it was, and it's sad because it's like she wasn't incentivized to work.
Right.
Like, why should she work? She makes more money by not working.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and you know how many people I've seen have kids too young and not even know what they're getting into. And then by their mid-20s, they're just ruined because of it. You know, it's like, oh man, it's rough.
Did your cousin or your family member, was he able to maintain a relationship with his child?
Yeah,
that's good.
He's and it's definitely like, as the child has grown older, they broke up before the child was even born. So when the child is very young, the courts really heavily favor the mother. And as the child gets older, it becomes easier for him to argue that he should have 50-50 custody, which then eases up on the child support.
Right.
And then, of course, COVID hit, the business tanked, and well, now he doesn't have to pay nearly as much in child support, but that's a different story.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you're way better off having your kid than you are paying child support. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So he's got a great relationship with his child. I mean, the good news is and he'll say this, she's a great mom.
Yeah.
But she doesn't work.
Fucking Eric did it. He actually did it. He posted, "Attention, please don't send me Clubhouse invites."
Yeah, and I wonder if somebody did. I hope somebody did.
Eric did it. Yeah, that's funny.
Is he not a fan of Clubhouse or what?
I just joined Clubhouse because Clubhouse has an Android app now.
Yeah.
And there's some different T groups that meet there, and they've asked me to be a part of the conversation, so I said, okay, I'll join. And so I was telling the group earlier, and Eric was like, I never want to do Clubhouse. That doesn't sound, a waste of my time. It doesn't sound like it's for me. And it's funny because, Daniel was, seeking out a Clubhouse invite. He was like, oh, I want to invite now. I want to come on. And Eric was like, yeah, you better go onto Facebook and make it very clear to everybody that you don't want a Clubhouse invite.
Yeah.
That's funny. I've heard mixed reviews. I've heard people that like it and people that are like, it's awful.
You would like it, Joe.
Yeah.
I spent some time on it this morning when I first got on. There was one room that was interesting. It's like an open forum where anybody can go on the stage and speak, and there's these rules. You don't get more. Okay, so actually, depending on who you are, you get different time. So the room is called Palestinians Meet Israelis. So if you are from Palestine or Israel and currently reside there, you get the most amount of time to talk. But if you are Israeli American, you get 2 minutes to talk. And then if you are completely third party from the conversation, you are allowed to come and talk, but your time is very short, and you will quickly get cut off. The moderators are really quick to cut people off that are exploiting their privilege because they want to make sure that the people that are actually sharing their experiences get majority of the time.
Yeah, it sounds like it's really there for they let everybody have the microphone, and if you don't have relevant context, then they give you enough time to ask a good question, and that's about it.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it was awesome. So I spent about an hour there listening to all kinds of stories, different perspectives, and there certainly was people coming in with their opinions, but there was no real discord allowed. It was just you get your opinion, and if you throw a question out there, yeah, someone may respond to it, but this is not going to be a back and forth type of discord. So if you try to bring the temperature of the room up, the moderators are quickly going to bring it back down and bring the next speaker up to share their experience. I was like, this is a really great way to moderate a super sensitive conversation. Yep. That's a wild.
Right on. Well, I'm gonna go cook dinner. So
Cool.
It was nice seeing you guys again. It's been a while since I've been here. So
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping by, Joe.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna try and make it in on Monday so I can see the other half of the gang. But we'll see what happens.
Mondays are wild now.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people. This past Monday was a really intense one, but it was good. It was a good one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good deal. All right, y'all.
Have a good weekend. See ya.
Be safe.
Bye-bye. All right, Sam, I'm going to go too.
No problem. I'm going to do the same.
But, hey, man, thank you as always, and I'll see you soon. Enjoy your gathering this weekend.
I will. You too.
Thanks.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao. Oh, that was fun. That was fun as always. Hanging out with the crew. Learning things, sharing experiences. Let's see, anybody here for us to read? Let's go say hi to Minnesota Taz. I want to go see how he's been enjoying Hey Sparkle, what's up? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, we just finished our tea talk session. Lots of captivating conversation. I'm gonna go raid someone making breakfast. If you like breakfast, it's going really well. Sparkle, how are you doing? How are you doing? I'm doing well. I've been busy preparing for our next big event at the end of June. I unfortunately had to cancel a trip, a very exciting trip that I had for India because of the pandemic. And I had invested in and set up all of this IRL streaming equipment. So now, yeah, I'm planning various places that I can travel safely here in the US to do some IRL streaming. So that's what I've been up to. Oh, it's 2 a.m., yeah. You could always have breakfast right now. I mean, I think Minnesota, where we're going to be raiding right now, is pretty late at night there, and he's having breakfast. So breakfast is one of those great things that you can have at any time of day. Yeah, I did a stream of a street fair that happens here in Las Vegas a few weeks ago, and that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. Walked around, saw a lot of friends, saw a lot of live music and art, a lot of live music. That was really fun, super engaging content. So I look forward to doing that more. Yeah, maybe doing something in New York City in a couple of weeks. So stay on the lookout. Unfortunately, it's not international. I was looking forward to doing it in India, but next time. Like it looks like things are starting to calm down there with the pandemic. Just starting, you know, probably going to take a few months until it gets back to a safe level. And yeah, I'll make up. I'm going to make up that time. I'll make up. Yeah, live music is always good. I just have to be really careful to like keep check on the audio levels, you know, because like when you're in the studio, you can sound check everything before, make sure all the levels are good. But when you're doing IRL and you're going to these different locations that have different things going on, you know, you'll sound check at the beginning to make sure, you know, you're loud enough to pick up what's going on. But then if you go into like the first like big concert we went into, it was tons of people and the music was super loud. It was like a punk band playing, and totally blew out the speakers. And then the second concert that we walked into, I realized about 5 minutes in of being there, I was like, you know what, I should check the levels. And I checked the levels and they were totally blown out. I was like, shit, man. So I fixed them, and thank goodness, you know, I had like 45 or so like really good minutes with all the levels right and everybody looking and sounding good. Just something to be mindful of. And like, you know, when you're streaming, most of the time you're by yourself. There's so many things to check to make sure everything is right. So that's just gonna have to be another one of those things on my mental checklist that I have to constantly keep up with when I'm doing the IRL streaming, walking around. Yeah, but you know, always gonna get better in time. All right, let's go raid our friend Minnesota Taz. I don't think I've ever raided him before. I'm not like super familiar with his channel. I just know that he was visiting Las Vegas a few months ago. I was actually out of town during that time, but I had left a gift for him at a local coffee shop that he went to, and they were able to give him the gift. So I want to go there and ask him how he's enjoying his matcha. Cool, awesome. Yeah, he's making breakfast. Let's go get some breakfast. Yeah, it's a thingy indeed to check. Open the gates. Thanks, Sparkle. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for stopping by, saying hello. Much love to you. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow night. Maybe I'll see you for your Saturday morning cartoons. Have a great evening. Or morning. Yeah, it's morning.